Elder, all right. Congratulations. So I'm going to turn over the mic to Elder. The title of his proposal is Strengthening Portuguese Research in Academic Water Sustainability Programs.
Many thanks. Today we were talking about Sustainable Development Goals, and in fact this project touched this topic, so more specifically clean water for the world. At Polytechnic Institute of Bragança, President Orlando is here, we have a strong focus on internationalization. Since more than a decade, we invest on internationalization at all levels, not only on education, but also on research. So what happened in this idea was to couple our expertise on internationalization on academic programs and also on research. I am coordinating this project, and I am also coordinating a group where our main aim is development of water treatment solutions for sustainability and these topics related with water. On the other hand, due to our international collaborations, I had opportunity to start a project that is focused on Central Asia to monitor water quality and to develop treatment solutions for contaminants of emerging concern on the region. And I got knowledge of Nebraska University at Lincoln. It was a project that we didn't met in person. In September, I knew already about this possibility of FLAD. I went to Nebraska, and I talked about the possibility of doing this project, where we aim to assess the programs, our curricula on environmental science in our institution, to gather the expertise of Nebraska University, namely Nebraska Water Center and Dr. He Water for Food Global Institute, that they are world leaders on environmental assessment, on water quality and treatment solutions, and insert the expertise in our program. So we will try to develop a double diploma program where we can exchange students and faculty between programs in Nebraska and our programs at IPB, and at master level, because at master level we can exchange students that will do master thesis, so they will do research projects where we can couple research and academic programs in order to develop this topic, this problematic of the water and the water quality and treatment that we need for the world.
Congratulations. And I know that our communications team asked me to mention, so for each of the winners, I think they would like to speak with you afterwards for a brief video moment to hear about what you plan on doing. Project number 3, and I know that we have Professor Joaquim Jorge here from the Instituto Superior Técnico. He was the PI who put together a proposal that is a multi-university consortium between Técnico and specifically INESC, one of the research units that's affiliated with Técnico, with the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, with Duke University, and with the Clemson School of Computing. So, Joaquim, congratulations.
So, thank you very much for this initiative, and I'm very happy to receive one of the 4 awards. This comes in the wake of an initiative that has landed us the distinction of the UNESCO share of artificial intelligence and extended reality that was bestowed on University of Lisboa this last September. And I'm the proud lead of that share. And the I'm very happy to be in this, to receive this award in this context, because we care deeply about the sustainable development goals. And our research and education focuses on several of those, including the possibility of reducing travel worldwide, which is a large contributor to global warming. The share is being put forth by a consortium of 40 institutions worldwide, 5 of them in Australasia, 10 in Africa, about a dozen in Europe, and also in the United States, North America, Canada included, and South America. So it's a worldwide consortium. And we focus on several strategic objectives. One of them in this proposal was to develop dual degree programs with the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Professor Regis Copper is starting a sabbatical with my research group in Técnico in Tagus Park. And the main focus of this effort and the whole share is on combining artificial intelligence and extended reality, the combination of virtual, mixed, and augmented reality to improve all aspects of healthcare, from education, which has been traditionally approached, to diagnosis, to surgical preparation, to surgery proper, that's our Shangri-La, and to post-operation. And the goal in the context of increasing North-South cooperation, we plan on developing prototypes, university prototypes, and proof of concept tools that will enable bringing quality healthcare to people operating in all corners of the world. And this does not mean one-directional cooperation north-south, because some renowned specialists are south of the equator. We tend to see the globe downside up, but you can also look at it the other way. And this should be, definitely we should focus and strive for bidirectional cooperation. The other major objectives are increasing research with other universities. Professor Andrew Dukowski is one of the world-renowned experts in eye gaze and its related applications, and we believe that virtual reality and augmented reality need us to leapfrog in terms of interface, human-computer interaction capabilities to meet the challenges of remote cooperation, because, believe it or not, the pandemics has taught us that despite the virtues of technology, we still crave traveling, because nothing replaces being here and being there. And it's still a remote target of making it possible to bring remote specialists to the operating room, or to bring quality special care to people in remote places, which is now possible thanks to the improvement in telecommunications and, of course, virtual reality technologies. But it still lags behind by several orders of magnitude what we can accomplish in person-to-person contact. And that's one of our strategic goals. And so one of our other partners is Professor João Visocci from Duke University, who has regular exchange programs with Tanzania. And through him, we plan to write several research proposals and joint research towards making this dream of being there happen for improved healthcare for all. So we're very happy that FLAD chose us as one of the recipients in this proposal, and I'm personally thankful to all my other colleagues that are joint partners in this endeavor. Thank you very much once again.
Thanks so much. Congratulations. I should mention UNC Greensboro is a minority-serving institution. I think that also was another factor that we were also impressed by. Finally, the last project to receive funding is from the University of Coimbra, the Faculdade de Ciências e Tecnologia, and it's in a partnership with the Virginia Polytechnic Institute, also known as Virginia Tech. The title of the project is Lima, Exploration and Hands-on Learning Through Interdisciplinary Micro-Activities. But that is a mouthful, and I think it would be better if we have some representatives. I believe they're working to get online the Vice Rector for External Relations, Dr. João Nuno Calvão da Silva, who will be representing UC on this initiative. The PI is Professora Paula Alexandra. I think we have them with us. Can you hear us?
We are all here.
All right, fantastic. Welcome. We'd like to hear about your project, so please tell us what you have in store.
Good morning, everyone. We haven't quite organized ourselves, so I probably would like to give the floor to our Vice Rector, Professor João Nuno Calvão da Silva, and then I think we can present the project. By the way, Jim is here. They are working with us from Virginia Tech, and also Andrea, who is still at home, and probably that's why her camera is still off. But yeah, I would first like to give the word to our Vice Rector. Hi, Andrea.
My only word is to say good morning to all of you. Thanks a lot to the FLAD for this initiative. And thanks a lot, especially thanks a lot to our Departamento de Engenharia Informática and Professora Paula Alexandra Silva. Okay?
Thank you so much for being here and for your words. It really means a lot to us. So yes, my name is Paula Alexandra Silva. I am one of the lecturers at the Department of Informatics at the University of Coimbra. And as you've realized already, this project is about a partnership with Virginia Tech. In particular, one of their very successful labs, which is called Think a Bit Lab. And unlike the other projects that we've heard so far, our project looks less towards research in terms of a more conventional sense, as our focus is in one of the challenges of the 21st century, that is to equip people from diverse social backgrounds with the necessary skills to pursue a career in more technically oriented fields. Maybe I should have started with this, but I'm also absolutely delighted that we have been one of the selected projects for this award, not only personally, but also from my university and Virginia Tech. And I'm going to pass the word to you soon, Jim, so that you explain a little bit better what Think a Bit Lab has been doing since 2014. But before I do that, I would like to say that our goal with this partnership is to work on an exchange experience among us in where we learn the best practices of Think a Lab and learn also how to apply them in Portugal. And again, our focus with the partnership is to inspire people to pursue a career in STEM through hands-on technology exploration activities. And in the interest of time, I think I'm going to finish by saying that what better way to consolidate this partnership and start these activities than to obtain this award. And I'm really looking forward to starting our collaboration. And one final thanks for Andrea, who visited me in July. And this is how this collaboration came to be. Anyway, I give the floor to you, Jim, for a few words.
I'm just going to say a few short things because it's really Andrea who deserves the credit for pulling this terrific idea together. Our lab was designed exactly as Paula said. It's to introduce more people in the most equitable ways to opportunities in preparing our future technical workforce, recognizing that today's 10-year-olds will still be working full-time in 2075 or 2076. We want to make sure that they're predisposed to lifelong learning, learning new technologies or embracing new technologies, and then recognizing the challenges and opportunities at the same time. And I'd like Andrea to describe the visions she saw that pulled us all together.
Jim, thank you very much. Yes, I will just say only a few things. What motivates me most, beside being computer science, beside being in technology education and doing all these amazing things, I'm coming here as a parent who doesn't find choices for her daughters to put them in what would be taught in the future, what they would have to work for in the future. And seeing all of this, I'm coming back from Europe. I've been born and raised in Europe and living in the United States. I'm seeing the same challenges in the United States as I have seen in Europe when I collaborated with Paula. So I'm really, really grateful for the award. And I think it is the first step for us to further this work together and establish better education for our students, children, and everybody else to prepare them for the new technology boom that's always ongoing. Thank you. Paula, back to you.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add. And maybe thank you again, Andrea and Jim. And yeah, I think we will have an impact. And one thing that maybe I forgot to say is that one of our goals is to not only involve, obviously, younger adults, but it's also to involve the teachers, companies, and other leaders so that the most of us can then perpetuate this impact. And yeah, I see a lot of interesting things for us to do in the future. And thanks again to FLAD. And we are available. We will stay a little bit longer to talk with your technical team as you requested. That would be all for us.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who applied. I invite our panelists to take seats here so that we can hear from the Secretary of State for Internationalization, who's been a dear friend and I think someone who's been deeply involved in this whole concept of internationalization on many levels. Thank you for being here, Bernard.
Thank you very much. Obrigado, Rita. I think it's the first time I'm here in FLAD since you took over, and it's a much better environment. Let me add. Thank you, Michael, for all the support and friendship. Thank you very much, Otilia and Christina, and a warm hello to everybody that was with us in the US when we travel around the many universities that we did together in the West Coast of the United States. It was an enormous pleasure to be with so many Portuguese universities, visiting American universities and finding how immediately and how quickly you build connections. And I was just happy to be able to open the doors for you to get in there. Let me start by thanking FLAD, obviously, for the invitation, and to say something that should not be an issue. Oh, estavas aí, eu não te vi. Estás boa. It should not be an issue with anybody. And yet it is. Public policies, decisions, and debate should all be based on science. And this really simple statement, which I'm sure everybody in this room agrees, it's still bizarre, it may sound, it's not consensual. There's still lots of people claiming that science and knowledge and regaining science and knowledge when it doesn't match their worldview. And that has impact on public policies, and that has impact on the way that we act and do we work. When someone tried to discredit, for example, vaccination policies, the consequences on climate change, they are putting in question not only science but public policies and the way that we organize society. Look at climate change. It's a straightforward example of how this happened. The first time that the United Nations mentioned climate was not in the late 80s or the 90s, it was in 1949. It was shortly after the organization was created. At the time, the issue was not climate change, it was the use, something that was mentioned when I arrived, that the way that we use resources, so our day of burning out the planet and starting to use resources that are lent or borrowed for the following years. In 1949, the United Nations were already concerned about that. Fast forward to 1972, and we had the first conference on climate change in Stockholm. And then in 1987, Gro Brundtland, at the time Prime Minister of Norway, wrote her now very, very famous report, where for the first time we had the expression sustainable development. And the following year, in '88, we set up the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So we knew, we had science, we knew that climate was changing since the late 80s of the last century. And then what did we do? We spent the following 30 years arguing if science was science, or if climate change was actually climate change, or if this is not a hoax, or a conspiracy theory of some people trying to get rich over God knows what. And we wasted 35 years debating if science is science. Let me just say the obvious. Science couldn't care less about what you think. Science is science, and the only way to disprove science is with more science. So you can believe, you can accept, you can deny science all you like. Science is there, and science exists, and science shows us what we know to be true at every given moment in our common history and our common society. Science helps us to find the best solutions. It gives us the answers and gives its instruments. However, it does not design public policies. Public policy should be based on science, but it is for us, governments and society, to work what public policies we want to do. In a democracy, public policies have to generate a high level of consensus. It's the only way that we can move forward together. Our models of democracy are based on the fact that sometimes the other people win elections. Sometimes we don't agree with the way that governments are taking care of public issues, but we accept the system. We accept that people, even when we don't agree with them, that people are entitled to make decisions, and the process is fair and square. And we need to keep that core fundamental element of democracy. So we need to join science with a trust, a given trust of the public opinion of society in what science is telling us. So we need to be able to base our scientific knowledge and the decisions that we make on the social contract that, being here in FLAD, I could not quote President Lincoln when he said, it's a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And we know that those solutions, based in science, will have also to ensure economic growth, social development, and environmental sustainability. It is not an easy task. We have to do it all together, and we have to do it in really short period of time. We have to work together. We need to bring governments, universities, research centers, businesses, trade unions, civil society organizations, foundations, citizens, to have this national debate about science and public policies. And because the role of universities is so central and so fundamental in this work, universities, research center, polytechnics. You are the ones who give us the tools to make our decisions. And we need to work together to understand what science is telling us, and we need to help, for you to help us to see where we can go with the science that we have. You are responsible for the contribution of R&D. Let me give you a couple of comments on what we've lost because we didn't accept science. And then a couple of comments that follows very close what Paula, Jim, and Andrea were telling us about the future. Because we wasted 35 years on debating if science was science, we now have to do in 7 to 10 years what we could have done in almost a quarter of a century. We need to change the way that we are doing businesses. We need to adapt 150 years of economic model to climate change. And that is just upon us. Here in Europe, for instance, the Fit for 55 legislation coming out of the European Union tell us that we need to cut in half the emissions on gases that impact on climate by 2030, so in not even 7 years now. And we need to cut to completely half it by 2050. Financing is not available for projects and businesses who do not have environmental sustainability at the core of their business. And even the clients, even markets are changing. Consumers now are much more in tune with follow the frog. They want to make sure what they're buying or the services that they're using are sustainable. When my father is 81 years old, he remembers the end of the Second World War. And when we asked him what was the key element for his generation, and that was peace. The generation that lived through the war, that remembers the end of the war, what they're looking for was peace. My generation, I'm 54, we witnessed the end of the Cold War and the fall of the Berlin Wall. And for my generation, what we're looking for is freedom and democracy. And every time I ask students what they're looking for, this generation, they are looking for environmental sustainability and social policies. And that are the clients, that is the market that we have nowadays, that we have today. Now let me move to the other issue. And the other issue is, like Paula, Jim, and Andrea were talking about, the fourth industrial revolution or digitalization. Every time I go anywhere, and the fact that I'm now in government gives me access, which is nice. I ask to talk to people, and people make time to talk to me. And I'll miss that when I leave government and go back to university, where I miss my students as well. Every time I go anywhere in the world, I try to meet with businesses that are changing the world or universities that are changing the world. So I go to Google, and we went together to Stanford and to Berkeley, and I go to Oxford and Cambridge and elsewhere. And I always ask the same question, exactly the same question that Andrea was asking about the future of her daughter, which is, I know what jobs will be destroyed by the new industrial revolution. Could you please tell me what jobs will be created by the new industrial revolution? And everybody who changed the world is by nature optimistic. And so they will tell me, oh, it's going to be wonderful. New jobs that we don't even know about it, but the future is magnificent. That is all very nice, and I'm happy to know that the future is wonderful and jobs will be really, really good. But I cannot go to professors or to the Polytechnic and say, you need to revisit your curriculum on the basis of ideas like human interaction or imagination, or the things that I'm told again and again and again will be the basis of the new businesses and the new future. I cannot go to business and tell, you have to change your system of doing business because something wonderful is coming. We don't know exactly what, but something wonderful is coming. I cannot design, or the government cannot design, public policies to address the issues that we know may happen in the future. Between the fall of the end of communism, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and the reunification of Germany, East German businesses were just wiped out by the much more efficient West German economy. They just disappeared. And suddenly the government of East Germany, before the reunification, was faced with what they call the 10-10 generation, or the waste generation. People that were 10 years too old to adapt to market economy and 10 years too young to retire. And we may face that in the future. We don't know, because there's much we don't know about what's going to happen in the future. We, in the Portuguese government, we're not sitting waiting for the skies to fall over our heads. We're trying to address these questions the best we can with what we know. That's why we today are on the front line of environmental transition, and we are indeed in the front line of environmental transition. We started our environmental and energy transition 25 years ago. Not because we were smarter than everybody else and understood the signs of the future, but because we just looked around and realized that we don't have oil and gas, but we have the sun and the rain. And today was a really good day to notice that. It rained like hell in the morning, and now it's a beautiful day. We have waves and we have wind. So we started our transition much earlier than everybody else. Around 70% of our electricity comes from renewable energies nowadays, and we are way ahead of the curve compared to everybody else. That's why we have public policies in place to make sure that we will train at least 60% of our adult population in digital skills by 2030. And that's why we have a key strategic priority in sustainable management of the oceans and the transition from maritime economy to blue economy. These are just 3 examples of public policies based on science. But we need more. It is clear to have a sound and solid public policy that we need to incorporate science. We need to work working together with universities and research centers, businesses, trade unions, civil society organizations and foundations, and you and I and our families. Can we address the challenges of the future? We need to understand what is coming. We need to understand what is coming in time to prepare for what is coming. And that is the role of science, is to tell us where we're going to, so that we can have a proper national conversation and international conversation on the future that waits for us just around the corner. Having said that, it's absolutely fundamental that Portuguese universities work together with international organizations, with international universities, share knowledge. If there was one silver lining out of the pandemic, was when we witnessed the way that research centers across the world come together and made possible in 3 or 4 months to have a vaccine that would take normally years and years and years to get. When you all work together, when we all work together, we were able to give an answer to the pandemic that was shutting down the planet and killing millions and millions of people. And that is something that we've learned. Probably the only good thing that we've learned from the pandemic was that when universities, research centers, governments, and civil society organizations work together, we are able to come out with the answers that we need. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bernard, for being here, and to all of you for making the effort to attend this day and a half forum. I hope it was useful and provides some fruit for future efforts and thought. We here at FLAD are going to continue promoting internationalization between the 2 countries. That's our mission. And again, thank you for being here, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
I'm just not sure if we are supposed to wait. Can anyone from FLAD tell us?